Hey everybody, welcome back to another review with me. I am your host Maxine and we are reviewing Married at First Sight, season 20, episode 4. This episode is titled From I Do to Island Views. So, they are done with the weddings. We're waking up from our first night together as a married couple, as a couple in general, as people who just met each other, and we're hearing from them from their beds, right? So Michelle and Cameron, they're talking about taking things slow. This is led by Michelle. Adam and Marissa are definitely fucking. They're definitely getting it on. Marissa has said several times that she is very attracted to him. And in this episode, Adam does compliment her. So that's some progress. We learned from Sean and Nikki that they actually held hands during the night. Sean led that, of course, and Nikki thought that was endearing. So that was actually kind of her to say. Tori and Felipe, they start to have a conversation about Felipe's fear of commitment. Now, obviously, this is not something that you are excited to hear when you are newlywed. So that was interesting. Tori says the matchmakers couldn't have done any better. Now, here's the thing with Tori. Now, we've been saying as a collective, right? We've been saying that she is just really impressive. Like, she is nice. She's saying the right things. She's doing the right things. Remember in the last episode, or whatever episode it was, when she received the first slice of the cake, and according to the Brazilian culture in which Felipe is a part of, he gave her the first slice to signify that she is the most important person in his life now. And in that moment, Tori, she received it, but she gave it away to his mom. Now, someone said in another review that I watch consistently, she said how receptive is Tori to receive something special from her husband? Is she just quick? Like, is she performative basically? So I'm kind of keeping my eye open, because for Tori to say the matchmakers couldn't have done any better, I'm just wondering what made her say that, because we don't really see much in-depth conversation at that point of her saying that. So aside from physical attraction, to say something as impressive as the matchmakers couldn't have done any better is like, okay, girl, what? But who knows? Maybe she meant it. Belle and Mecca, they're talking, and Mecca is saying how Belle is his bestie. Hey, girl, which is what he said verbatim. And he says that she is the female version of him. Now, there's always a fine line when a man says you're the female version of me, or you're like my best friend, right? You don't want to hear that. Do you want to tear this down, right? Like, do you like me romantically, or am I just someone you could vibe well with? And that's the impression I'm getting from Mecca and Belle at the same time. I feel like they seem to have a nice vibe with each other, but as far as being mature in their relationship, in their marriage, on a romantic tip, I feel like they lack that. Belle's talking about she wants them to match outfits once they gather as a collective during this honeymoon trip. Devin is saying to Caitlyn how he is very much a physical touch guy. That's his love language. He finds validation in physical touch, and I'm the same way, with the right person, right? I remember my ex, when he would always physically touch me, it'll be like, ah! But when the right one touches you, it's like, oh, it's just so funny how your love language could change based on the person you're with. So for their honeymoon, they are at Riviera Maya in Mexico. It looks like a beautiful area. I haven't been to that part of Mexico, but I have been to Mexico in different areas. Nikki and Sean, we see Sean yet again making another sexually charged joke. There was a moment in which Nikki, she's changing, or she already changed, and then he said something about like, "Oh, is your titty gonna come out?" It was just so what? Like, I don't know. And I think with Sean, he has a way of just making things cringe, just like naturally making things cringe. And I don't know if that's attractive to Nikki or to whomever, right? I feel like as he's complimenting her, like he'll say, "Oh my God, look at you. Okay, I see that. You look good." He'll say it like that. And what woman wants her man to compliment her like that? Not me. Let me just say that. I know there are, there's different type of relationships nowadays. There are more progressive relationships. There are women actively in relationships with men who are more metrosexual than misogynistic. Sure. Well, sometimes you need a misogynistic man, right? Sometimes things make more sense when you're with a man who's more misogynistic, okay? Nonetheless, the way that he compliments her is just too hey girlish. Like, it just feels like he's uncomfortable. Like, it feels like he's not as confident to be manly in his way of complimenting his lady. It's just weird. So we get to Courtney and Nick. We learn that Nick is not a handy person. He's not good with his hands. And that is, if you could be more unattractive, be unhandy. I feel like that is just the worst type of man. I don't know. I feel like if you're a man, by default, you should be handy. By default, you should know how to build a house. If you don't know, then at this point, you might as well have a sex change. Those are my thoughts. He couldn't open a bottle. Courtney grabbed that bottle and opened it swiftly. Taylor Swift style. Okay? She put it in her mouth. She like, here you go. She opened it just fine. He also didn't know how to use a shaker. You know, the shaker that you use when you're making alcoholic beverages. It just was embarrassing. Like, Nick, what do you know how to do? You know how to be on reality TV. That's what you know how to do. Tori and Felipe, they have a deeper conversation. We learned that Felipe is actually an atheist. Boom, 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 boom. You know, it's a big ass deal. But Tori is Christian. She identifies as a Christian. Felipe, he grew up as a Catholic, but currently he is an atheist. Tori explains why she's a Christian. She went through a difficult breakup, and getting into faith got her through that breakup. Felipe also tells her that he has cheated before. It was something that he blocked out of his memory. His girlfriend at the time found out after they broke up, and it was something that he was totally ashamed of, to the point where he blocked it out of his memory. At that point, Tori is kind of taken aback, but she's receiving what he's saying. They're having a productive conversation. Felipe reassures her that he will not cheat on her. Okay. First of all, Felipe says that he did not remember when he cheated on his ex. Yet after they broke up, that's when he remembered, and he put it in the back of his head because he was ashamed of. It's a lot. Like, which one is it? Like, and why didn't you remember? And how did the memory suddenly came about? It's just weird. Like, how does that happen? The cheating was only making out, which is an issue, don't get me wrong, but it was to the point where, dang, y'all couldn't move past that. y'all couldn't move past that. Okay, I guess it was a relationship that was already broken. But yeah, he's reassuring her that I'm not going to cheat on you. Here's the thing with Felipe. Now, maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe he's turned over a new leaf. Maybe he learned from that mistake. But I feel like because he is in the restaurant business, okay, I've watched Vanderpump Rules. That's enough. That tells me enough. That tells me all I need to know. Okay? When you watch Vanderpump Rules, you'll know that all these people are sleeping with each other. Okay? So I don't know how true that statement is about him not cheating on Tori, but it seems like it's a little sketchy there. Marissa and Adam tells her she looks so beautiful. He said that verbatim, so that's really impressive. Marissa thought that him not being someone who drinks alcohol was going to be an issue, but they are vibing just well, so that's great. And they seem to have a strong chemistry with each other, so that's nice. Michelle and Cameron. So Michelle gets emotional, just like I said before. And look, I'm not saying it's bad to get emotional, but she gets so choked up when she talks about deep topics to the point where I wonder how well she is regulating her emotions. As someone who struggles with emotional regulation from time to time, I could spot with another person is the same way. So that's why I took a note of that. So she tells him about her health issues. She has a case of fibroids and it impacts her fertility. She told him about freezing her eggs, and that she is open to adoption, and so is he. He actually tells her that his sister is adopted, which obviously, right? Remember when I talked about that? I'm like, hold on. Are we not going to talk about the fact that you have an Asian sister? Right? Mecca and Belle. So Belle fears that she will have to be the one to initiate things in her marriage. She is actually also telling Mecca that you could lead. Like, you could lead me. I will follow. I will submit. You are my daddy. Like, she is letting him know you are the leader. I support what you say. I want you to lead this marriage. Caitlyn and Devin. Caitlyn tells Devin that her and her dad, remember her dad was the one who interrupted their wedding twice. One time during the ceremony and another time during the reception. She said that her and her dad, they butt heads, but in a good way. So that right there is giving me the impression that Caitlyn is someone who can be a bit hard-headed. Maybe she's a bit argumentative. Maybe she has a hard time taking accountability. So these things, maybe some yellow flags there. They both grew up in a strict household, both Caitlyn and Devin, so they bond over that. We get to Nikki and Sean, and as you can see in my slideshow, I'm showing you different clips that I decided to take a screenshot of for this episode. Nikki and Sean, they're at this pool during their honeymoon, and Sean removes his shirt upon Nikki's request. Sean confidently removes his shirt and he says how he has a dad bod. Nikki says in her confessional that she didn't expect her man to have a dad bod and not be a dad. That's hilarious. But I mean, I think he looks fine. He doesn't look bad. He's not. I think his build makes sense for his stature, right? I mean, sure, he could have more of a six pack or something like that, but I think overall he doesn't look like he's tumbling over. She asks him what was his first impression of him at the altar. Okay. So he asked her what was her first impression of him when she saw him at the altar. And she said, "Oh, he's confident." When someone says, "Oh, you're confident," as the first impression, that's telling me that she's surprised that the way you look, that you're still a confident person. That's the impression I got. She also so we learned that there's something called an old Sean. So Sean tells Nikki, they're opening up to each other. He tells her that he usually is me first. He brings himself first. He's the priority. And they bond over that. They understand each other because Nikki has been that way as well. Nikki said she actually ended every relationship she was in. She was the one to break it off. He was like, "Oh, interesting." So I think he probably took that and filed it away in his mind. Then He actually asked her, how have you grown? Because she says she's grown from her previous self. So she's trying to explain, and I thought she did a fine job explaining. She gives an example of how she used to be very what was the example? Something like cleaning, something kind of lighthearted. It wasn't a heavy example. Something about cleaning. He felt like the answer, if he felt like the answer was insufficient. So he's asking her, okay, so I asked you what was your why, and you didn't really answer the question. So the way he's talking to her is as if he's interviewing her. She actually calls him out on it. But what I liked about this moment was Nikki didn't have an attitude. She just called him out in a direct but kind way. So I was actually impressed with her way of handling this, because I do agree that she was being lighthearted and maybe he wanted an in-depth response, but like she said, she wanted to keep it lighthearted. We're outside. I'm not trying to give a super deep response right now. Maybe I'll do it during our therapy session. Maybe I'll do it when we are back in the room. But as we're outside at the pool, I'm not going to give you super deep responses right now. Courtney and Nick, they have a little awkward moment on the beach. It seems like they don't know how to communicate with each other, or they don't know what to do right now. No one knows. Like, Nick is not really making the first move. Courtney's overthinking. She was a little annoying throughout this episode. We get to Tori and Felipe. Tori says to him that, look, I really want someone who's loyal. She gives him more details of how she was cheated on and talked about how she actually had a chat with the other girl and was really mad at him because the other girl was the same age as her sister, as her younger sister. And as soon as she found out that he cheated on her ex, she moved out immediately. Now, that kind of gave me some pause too, because Tori is giving me the impression that she is someone who immediately moves on. Now, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's not a good thing. But I think sometimes when you're quick to move on and you're not quick to, take a break or take a moment to find resolution or talk it over, that could be concerning. Like, how invested are you? Now, one may say, well, you cheated. It's like, can we stop making cheating this like thing? Felipe wants her to trust him 100% because, like he said, I will not cheat on you. Felipe, please. I don't believe him for 1 second. I don't think he's doing it, or I don't think if he were to do it, I don't feel like it is against the person. I think it's the lifestyle that he's in, especially because he is extroverted and charismatic. He's all of these things because he has to be because of his line of career. Let's move on. Belle and Mecca. Belle is wondering if this relationship feels like more of a friendship than a romantic one. She again is telling him she wants him to lead. It feels like Mecca's like, just like nodding his head and receiving it. Courtney and Nick. Nick is telling Courtney how he was called Jim Carrey when he was young. And I think when he was telling this story, it felt like he was auditioning. Did y'all get that impression? It felt like he was trying to tell future producers of different reality shows that he may be on again that, hey, I have so many talents. I'm funny. I'm charismatic. I look good. I want love, even though he doesn't. I wrote here, Courtney's an overthinker. She was trying to plan or control the situation and not just going with the flow. I feel like Nick is absent-minded. They're just odd. I don't really know what to say. They're just odd. Courtney, she says she's more of a doer, and she gets that from her mom. And she's very, antsy. Okay? She's very antsy. It's giving ADHD. And as someone who has ADHD, I think she has it. I think I could diagnose her. Nick is asking her, does she have any creative outlets? But she says she's more of a doer than she is anything else. So I think that was a point of disconnect between them, because Nick is trying to bond with her about his own creativity while she has none. We get to Devin and Caitlyn. Devin said he's only been in year-long relationships, so he's only kept it to a year. He says that's because of his professional rugby career. Caitlyn has been in longer-term relationships. They both dive in the water. I think it's a cenote, and they seem to be having fun with each other. But then we get into a conversation between them. Caitlyn is saying how she's more of a black cat in a relationship, and she thinks that he is more of a golden retriever. Now, that's a new trend or new term that we're hearing nowadays of, oh, he's a golden retriever. I haven't heard the black cat one. But nonetheless, black cat is someone who is, if you're an owner of cats, like if you own cats, if you have cats, you are probably familiar with some of them. It's a stereotype, right? But it seems to be true. That cats are pretty much standoffish. They'll come to you when they'll come to you. They do their own thing. Don't tell them what to do. They're pretty independent, and that's how Caitlyn is coming off. Now, here's the thing with that. Devin is more of a golden retriever. He loves you. He wants to be in your midst. He wants to be loved and cuddled and smooched on. And that is the exact opposite of a black cat. And we see that unfold later on in this episode, because Devin actually already spots out that he feels that she's standoffish. We'll circle back in a moment. So we jump into Sean and Nikki. Now, this part of this episode confused me because we have Sean and Nikki. First, they get to the pool, but they talk about a moment that they had previously during a video diary confessional. So during this video diary confessional, Nikki she tells Sean that she wants to wait a month before they have sex. She wants that to be after the experiment, and she wants it to be a slow burn. But the way that she announced it to the video diary confessional, she announced it as if they made the decision together. Now, here's the thing with that. According to how they're recapping this moment, Sean, apparently, he did agree. He said, yeah, I think I'm fine with us waiting a month before we have sex. But he didn't like how in the video diary, she said it as if they both thought of it together and agreed upon it together. And he felt like she made a decision for him. But I didn't get that impression because you agreed, right? Of course she's going to bring it up. Like, someone has to be the one to initiate any conversation. So she initiated the conversation and he agreed. Or she initiated the proposal and he agreed. So regardless of her coming forward during this video diary to say that, hey, we're waiting a month before we have sex, I feel like it doesn't matter because you agreed to it. So what's the issue? So he doesn't like it because he felt like she made the decision rather than them as a couple making the decision together. They're coming to the realization that they have different communication styles. She's telling him that you're more robotic and you communicate as if it's a professional discourse, as if you're on stage, as if you're trying to debate me, and you communicate more with your head than you do your heart. But she explains this so well. I think she's so articulate. I think she is so calm with it. Like, she's not yelling. She's not cursing him out. I think it was very clear how she felt, and she gives clear examples. They're having a bit tension with each other because he's trying to cut her off, or she's trying, like, both of them are cutting each other off at different points during this conversation, and they had to check each other respectively so that they could finish what they're saying. So it was a little moment of who could sound more intelligent. It felt like it was a face-off in a way, because I think because they're both mature, they both have accolades that are impressive in their respective fields. So, of course, their instinct is to talk like that. But I think sometimes when you identify so much with your profession, you kind of forget who you are outside of that profession. And just like Nikki says, it comes off like you're trying to interview me. It comes off too academic than it is emotional. So we get to this moment between Caitlyn and Devin. Apparently Devin told Caitlyn, hey, wake me up in the morning, like at this time in the morning, and let's go to the gym together. But Caitlyn, she woke up in the morning and went to the gym solo. They didn't have a fight. They didn't have a discussion about it. She just got up and left. And we see her, she's one of the photos in this slideshow. We see her walking to the gym, super happy, super excited to leave him. And Devin is bothered by it because I told your bitch ass that I wanted us to either go together, but if you wanted to go solo, you could have just communicated that with me. So he feels lonely and he feels disregarded here. And I agree. I feel like with Caitlyn, the issue with her is, like she said, she's black cat. She identifies as a black cat. She is more standoffish than she probably realizes. And I think there's a disregard when it comes to her husband's feelings. You signed up for this experiment. So yes, maybe your natural demeanor is to be standoffish because that's just who you are, but you now have to second guess, or like you have to do a self-check moment. Okay, you have to do a self-check moment and realize, okay, am I being standoffish here? Am I being considerate here? What can I do better? So all the couples gather. The guys believe that Tori keeps Felipe grounded. They like them together. Courtney says she loves Felipe's energy. She wishes that Nick. She wishes that Nick had the same energy. She feels bored with Nick. Felipe doesn't believe Nick is here for love, so he's a bit concerned about that. Adam and Marissa, I wrote down they definitely had sex because the girls are asking each other, okay, what happened? Are y'all screwing? Who's screwing? Mecca and Belle apparently had a 10 out of 10 kiss. And Belle is feeling strongly for Mecca. Devin is telling the boys about the little friction that he had with Caitlyn. Caitlyn's talking to the girls, letting them know that she actually is not used to so much physical contact with her partner, and she wants her alone time. Sean tells them about her decision. Oh, okay. That's what I mean. Sean is letting the guys know about how Nikki kind of made the decision for them to not have sex until after decision day. And he was annoyed that she made the decision, even though he agreed with the decision. So, like, what's the issue? Courtney says she will shoot herself, which I feel like is so true. I think she has ADHD. I think she's either unmedicated or undiagnosed, and both is an issue, okay? Please get some help. She feels like she would shoot herself if she has to have more alone time with Nick. Like, damn, is Nick that boring? And her and Caitlyn, they're bonding because neither of them want to spend time with their husbands. So there we have it. That's the end of this review. Let me know your thoughts down below. Please subscribe, like, and hype this video, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.